सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Okay, thank you for waiting to hear Dr. I. Swaminathan speak today. I am going to do a quick introduction of him before I hand it over to him. So for everyone here, ezHinduism is, a once in a month talk that we actually run here in Hindu Center. And the idea behind ezHinduism is to make sure that all of you are getting bits and pieces of information on specific topics. And today, Dr. I. Swaminathan is specifically going to be talking about his own spiritual journey of discovery when he went to Mount Kailash. And he's a surgeon and urologist in private practice, and you may have seen him on like TV. He's done like numerous he's given some talks and things like that, even on Vasantam. And he's also a volunteer and a medical counselor in Sri Mahamariamman Temple, and he's currently a vice president of the Singapore Brahmana Sabha. And the Sabha actually organizes many religious activities for members as well as public. Today, he's actually here as a guest speaker, and I would really like to thank him for joining us today. So I'll hand it over to him. Please hold off your questions towards the end. I'll make sure that we give some time for him to answer any questions that you may have. We can make sure that you can actually raise your hand either through the non-verbal feedback, like you can raise your hand through that, or you can also send in your questions through chat so I can read it out to him. So let me go ahead and hand it over to Dr. Swaminathan. You can share your screen.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Shreya. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'll be sharing my screen in a minute. Okay, you have to enable, Shreya. You have to enable my share screen.
Susain, I think you need to enable.
Yeah. Okay, while they are trying to get the share screen sorted out, good evening. I'm very happy to be able to give this talk. And first, I must thank Dr. Varaprasad and Hindu Center for extending this kind invitation to me. I'm not known as a religious speaker. My profession is surgery. He invited me to give this talk, I think, because we both went together on this trip with a group of 30 people. We are now known as the Kailash family of 2018. Okay, can I share my screen?
Yeah, right. You should be able to.
Okay. Can you all see?
Not yet. Yeah, it's loading for us.
I think you should be able to see. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let me give my little talk today. I really appreciate if you can keep the questions till the end. I'm sure you have many burning questions. Like many of you probably are thinking of going and you're wondering how easy it is, how tough it is, how much you must prepare yourself. So I will try my best and give you an account of my own experience and what a spiritual experience it was. This is our Kailash family, you see here, 30 of us. We went from 16 to 18 August 2018. Now, what is Kailash? What's the significance of Mount Kailash? For Hindus, for us, it's the most holy Shaivite or Shiva shrine. It is believed to be the abode, the home of Lord Shiva and Devi Parvati and their sons Ganesha and Muruga. Now, to the Tibetans, Okay, it is also a holy mountain. In fact, it is holy to 4 religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Bon. Bon, which is an old religion before Buddhism in Tibet. It was the religion. It is located in the Tibet, as you probably all know. It's the autonomous province of China. Now, for Hinduism, I've explained the significance. For Buddhists, it is very important because one of their so-called saints attained moksha there or attained nirvana there. For the Jains, again, Tirthankara, one of their saints, attained moksha there. For the Bon, it is the site of God. So 4 religions actually worship this Mount Kailash. Also, it is the origin of several of the main rivers that course through India and Bangladesh. We may have heard of Brahmaputra, Indus, Bagmati, which is a tributary of the Brahmaputra, and so on. Kailash is, nobody knows how old it is. It is ancient. It's mentioned in the Vedas, Puranas, Idihasas, Devaram, etc. You may have heard common things like Namachivaya Varga and all that. Now, the thing about Kailash, it is the stuff of many, many myths and legends. If you were to do a Google search, you'll find plenty of stuff, some of it true, some of it nobody knows true or not. So, like, for example, it's a shape, okay? It's like a pyramidal shape. To us, we say it's naturally shaped like a Shiva Linga. The Westerners say it's a pyramid, it's constructed by man, don't know how many thousand years ago, okay? That's one thing. Now, there's so many other legends I could say. Nobody has managed to climb Mount Kailash, okay? It's impossible to climb. Although Tibetans, they believe that one of their monks called Milarepa, he scaled it about 900 years ago. And after that, he came down, he said, don't you all ever go up there, you will disturb the gods. The gods are there. So nobody has ever scaled Tibet, Kailash. And also, it is believed to be, in the Bon religion, it is believed to be the axis mundi, or the center of the earth. Yeah, it's supposed to have chakra, radiating energy, and so many things. It's 6.6 thousand meters high, naturally shaped like a Shiva Linga. And it is very remote. It's a difficult and long trek just to get there. And then you have to do the circumambulation, which we also call parikrama, or in Tamil we call girivalam. There are many names. You can say parikrama, you can get circumambulation, all kinds of things. It is supposed to be the ultimate pilgrimage for Hindus. If you have been to Kailash and come back, you will not be reborn. That's the belief. Now, for me, why did I want to go to Kailash? My own reasons. Well, I've been brought up in a religious environment. My father was a very religious man. When we were young, he used to have Saturday bhajans, and families got together, and he would lead the Siva Puranam. Namachivaya Varga, Nadan Tal Varga, Meipozum Genenjil, Ningadan Tal Varga, Kokariyanda, Gurumanithan Tal Varga, Ahamam Ahinindra, Annipan Tal Varga, and so on. So that got me interested in Shiva, bhajans and things. Then, when I was about 60, I started traveling to India very often. Every year, we would do a pilgrimage. So in that way, I managed to cover all the 5 Panchabhuta Sthalas of Shiva. Chidambaram, which is supposed to be the ether, Tiruvannamalai, which is supposed to be fire, Kanchipuram, earth, Kalahasti, beautiful place, which is supposed to be the wind, and which was one I left out. Thiruanekkaval, which is Jalagandeswarar or water lingam, Appu lingam. So all that got me very interested in visiting Shiva sites. And of course, as I've said, this is the ultimate Shiva pilgrimage. So I was always very interested in going to Kailash, but it has to happen. It is a calling. You cannot just go. There have been many people who just decided on the spur of the moment, they decided to go, but they didn't get as far as finishing the Girivalam. There have been many obstacles on the way. So I believe it was a calling. Of course, there are little things like the movie Thiruvilayadal, which also has influenced me. You have heard of all the stories of Lord Shiva, how he used to play with his devotees. That also got me very interested in Shiva and anything to do with Shiva. One more thing was the temple visits. I remember when I was very young, I used to go to temple. We were living in KL. We used to drive down to Singapore. And every time I go to the temples here were so peaceful and so serene. I said, I think I should stay here. Anyway, that's just by the way. One of the important reasons I actually wanted to go is you must do it when you're able and fit. There's a prayer This is actually by Thirumangai Alvar. I'll just read it to you. Mudugu Patri, Kai Talatal Munur Kol Wundri, Vidir Vidirthe, Kan Surandre, Mer Kilai Kundu Yirmi, Idian Upper Mutavar Yendre, Ilayavar Yesa Mun. That means before your young people scold you. This old man, why does he want to go at this old age when his back is bent and he needs a stick to support himself? So it's always better to go when you're fit and young. Of course, there is also a sense of adventure and a bit of mystery. Like I told you, so many myths surround Kailash. Another so-called myth is that there are hidden caves inside where there are still sittarhal, devotees who meditate. And it's also said that if you try to scale Mount Kailash, you will grow old faster. Okay. And of course, I also was inspired by accounts from returnees, people who have been there. They say it'll help you to understand your inner self, the beauty of nature, and they describe their own personal experiences, how they felt close to God, and so on. How did I prepare myself? Well, I split it up into three rough areas. The physical preparation, that's quite important because it's high altitude. Average altitude is about 5,000 meters, 4 to 5,000 meters above sea level. The highest point is 5.6 thousand meters. So you need a bit of physical preparation. You need to have altitude training. Mental preparation is very important because I'll tell you in a while. And spiritual preparation, of course. So for physical prep, that's the easy part. I like to run. I used to run a marathon every year. So I just went to the gym. I did my core muscles, upper body, lower body. We all did stair climbing. The whole group, we used to go to Bukit Timah and we used to walk up and down the various trails and everything. On my own, I did stair climbing. It's like you climb 25 stories 5 times, one shot, And then to further improve my climbing skills, I went to climb Mount Kinabalu. And that was not enough. So I went to South America and went to see Machu Picchu and all that. This is my trip to Kinabalu. And that's me in the gym working out. I don't know, hope you can see that. And we went to all these very beautiful places just to get used to the altitude. Okay, that's a small thing. Now, the mental preparation, I think, is more important. Okay, it's a tough pilgrimage. By all accounts, everybody will tell you, going to Mount Kailash itself is difficult. Going around and doing the parikrama, it is tough. Okay, especially in some points, it is mind over body. Especially on the second day when you have to climb over the Dolmala Pass. Right, I'll come to that later. So you have to build up mental resilience. You have to. I read up accounts by other people how difficult it was. I also practiced meditation, relaxation, and so on. Spiritual part to me was important. I told you my upbringing was rather spiritual. So I started studying scriptures. Shiva Puranam, I had already learned it by heart during my younger days. So that was easy. Then I went and attended classes, learned Rudram Chamakam, because that is one of the holiest prayers, you can say, for Lord Shiva. Of course, we had temple visits, and I had discussions with several people who had been there before, and also our guides. And there's plenty of material on YouTube. If you go and Google nowadays, you can find so much, as I said. So I also spent some time looking at other people's yatras and their experiences. I'll come to the actual trip. Okay, I've split it into 3 parts because to acclimatize, you have to first go to Kathmandu, Nepal. There are 2 ways you can go. You can go via Nepal, Kathmandu. Some people fly straight to Tibet and then Chengdu in China, and then they go to Lhasa. Anyway, it all starts at Lhasa. So this first part is not even at Tibet yet. This is in Nepal, because you have to go there and get your visa to go to China. That takes 2 to 3 days. And also you have to acclimatize. So while we get a visa approved, we had a lot of time to do temple visits and also the last minute shopping. You need a lot of stuff. Okay, it's a difficult pilgrimage, like I said. So you need to have trekking material, track pants and cold weather clothing and poles. So those people who didn't get their stuff did their last minute shopping there in Nepal because it's cheaper there. We also went to do service in the orphanage, which our group has adopted. Every year they go there and do. I'll show you pictures of that. And we had plenty of opportunity to visit holy shrines. Pashupatinath temple, very holy shrine. We did the Lakshadweep Arati there. Buddha Nilkant temple, Bodhanath stupa. And then we went to Sakti Pidams, Chandragiri Hill, Manakamana. I'll come to that in a minute. And we also had an opportunity to see Kailash Mahadev statue, which is the tallest Shiva statue in the world. This is Pashupadinath temple there. It's a very ancient temple. It is actually supposed to be the third or fourth holiest Shiva shrine. Very holy. The specialty there is a 5-faced Shiva Linga and a golden Nandi. And the Shiva Linga, 4 faces, each one looks in one direction, and the 5th one looks towards the sky. It is at the banks of the Bagmati River. And if you go there, the interesting thing you will see is that while you circumambulate, you go around the temple, on the rear, the river runs there, Bagmati River, and people are actually doing cremations there. It is believed that if you die and you are cremated there, you will not be reborn. And suppose a very blessed place. The interesting thing we found is only Hindus can actually enter Pashupadinath temple. All others have to sit from across the riverbank and watch from the other side. This is our ashramam that we had adopted, and we went there to serve lunch to all the orphan children. Many of them were orphaned because of the earthquake that that happened in Nepal a few years ago. And we went to serve them lunch. The good thing is they're so disciplined. Each one of them will sit down and pray, and they will not start until the headmaster says, this is a headmaster here, he says, okay, you all can eat, and they will eat. And they will not leave a single bit of food, Very good children. We also raised some money. We gave them money, and they had actually built a new wing. If you see it on the right here, you can see a bit of it. That's a new wing being completed. So we're all very happy to note that our money has actually been useful to them. This is Buddha Nilkant temple. There's a story behind it. Although this statue looks like Vishnu, this is actually Lord Shiva. He's lying down on a bed of snakes. What happened was, the story of Dakshan and Parvati. She went to Dakshan's homam, and then he insulted Shiva, calling him a hermit, and insulted him, right? So then she threw herself into the fire and immolated herself. And Lord Shiva, it is said, was so sad, and he became mad, and he carried Parvati's body, and he was walking for days and days and years. And then Lord Vishnu saw him, took pity on him, and entered into his form. And then Lord Shiva went to lay in this place, Buddha Nilkant temple, on a bed of snakes, to recover from the sorrow. And eventually, of course, he came back. So this temple is special in that regard. We also had time to visit this Buddhanath Stupa. It's a temple complex. There are many legends behind it. The Tibetan legend is that a king wanted to build a temple there, and he said, go and find the most virtuous man. So his son went all over, couldn't find, and the king sent him a message saying that you go and look in this place, you will find the man sleeping. So the king himself went and slept there. You're supposed to sacrifice that person. So the son, without knowing it, sacrificed his own father to build the temple. The eyes there, the eyes are supposed to be the eyes of Buddha. I mean, depending on which legend you believe. There's also another legend saying that it's the eyes of a lady. They are placed in all 4 directions. This is a 13-layered pyramid. Okay, that's to do with Buddhism. It's very beautiful and very serene place. Now, in India and Nepal, there are a lot of so-called Shakti Pitams. These are places where bits and pieces of Devi Parvati's body are supposed to have fallen when Lord Shiva was carrying her and walking around for years in a daze. So each Shakti Pitam supposed to contain one part of Devi Parvati. So we went to Chandragiri Hills. It's a long cable car drive. And you go there, there's a little urn inside the temple where it is said that Devi Parvati's forehead is kept. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to take a photo of that. And some of us went to another place called Manakamana, where another piece of the Parvati's body is supposed to have fallen. We also had an opportunity to visit the tallest Shiva statue in the world at 143 feet. It's called Kailash Mahadev Temple. Now, this is when the actual trip starts. Sorry for all the digressions. The journey to the starting point. Okay, so we took a flight to Lhasa in Tibet, and our flight unfortunately was delayed by 2 days because they had some military activities going on in Tibet airport, Lhasa airport. So we were delayed by 2 days, and we were so worried that we might not be able to complete the parikrama. But fortunately, everything fell into place. So we took it to Tibet, and then over there, we still have to acclimatize. So we got a chance to visit the Potala Palace, and the Jokang Palace. Now, Potala Palace, that Potala Palace, that is supposed to be the place where the junior Dalai Lama, lives. Okay, and then Jokang Palace is also the third most sacred Buddhist palace. It contains statues of the Sakyamuni that have come from India, and another one from China when he was 6 years old and 12 years old, respectively. Now, after Tibet, Lhasa, that's when the real journey begins. Long bus journey. We had to travel 1,400 kilometers from Lhasa to Shigatse, Shigatse to Saga, and Saga to Mansarovar. And that's where the pilgrimage starts. Mansarovar, we had to stay overnight. We did prayers, homam the next morning. Then from Mansarovar, you go to Dachen. That is the starting point of the parikrama. So the purpose of all this was so that we could acclimatize gradually. Now, packing and leaving, it wasn't an easy task. The good thing was about the group, there was no ego. Everybody worked together, great teamwork, great cooperation. The young are old, the young will have the elderly and all that. First timers, veterans, no difference. Everybody works together, and you can see everybody has to pack all their belongings into this 20-kilogram bag, and that's all you get for the next 1 week or so. There's a few pictures of Potala Palace, Jokang Temple. Typical Buddhist temples, you have to, as you walk along, you spin the drums. Then from Lhasa, when we left, you cross the Brahmaputra River. You get this beautiful view as you cross the long, wide bridge. And we make from this way, you go along this road, and that's where it goes to Kailash. Plenty of scenery, nice scenery, mountains and view on the way. Lhasa to Shigatse is about 500 kilometers. And you see lots of animals, rivers. This is all Brahmaputra. It's the upstream or young Brahmaputra. After that, now I want to purposely show you this because the toilets there are quite terrible. It's only pit latrines, and you've got to get used to it because otherwise you go out and do it in the field where nature calls. You go to nature. It's very scenic, right? The Chinese have built enormous infrastructure, very beautiful roads. They even tunnel through the mountains. And look, as you can see here, lots and lots of solar panels. Okay? So they really, opened up the place by building roads. There's a 5,000 kilometer long road that goes all the way to Beijing. And we travel in these two buses. This is our driver. Then from Saga, so overnight we stay in Shigatse and Saga. Nothing much to talk about those places. By the time you reach, it's too late. You just enough time to have your dinner and sleep. It's quite tiring. And from Saga, we drove to Mansarovar. Again, the scenery sort of gets more and more beautiful. We begin to see the mountains in the distance and beautiful lakes. And finally, we got to see the first sighting of Kailash at Mansarovar. If you see in the distance, that's Kailash there, okay? And Nandi Hill. So you have to believe me, you can't see it so well from here. The good thing about this long bus trip was that, firstly, we got time to know each other. And I spent some time asking, why are you going? Everyone has their own reason. It could be like a fulfillment of a vow or some spiritual need, for them. Or some of them, they say they have lost a loved one and they want to seek, some comfort in that. Many are veterans. Some of them, the leaders of the expedition, they have gone like umpteen times. So everybody has their own reason. So we also got a chance to talk to people. I also had plenty of time to, reflect on myself and also to meditate and to pray. I carried a Rudraksha with me. So that was very useful. We could do a lot of meditation with that. By the way, Nepal is very good for Rudrakshas. If you go to Pashupatinath temple, there's a shop there where you can buy all the Rudrakshas you want. And they have many, many kinds of Rudrakshas. The faces, single face, double face. The most common one is the 5-face Rudraksha Mala. Indonesia actually is the top producer of Rudrakshas. Little known fact. Second to that is Nepal. So you can get plenty of Rudrakshas. In fact, all of us bought because we wanted to place it there in Mansarovar when we conducted our prayers. So this is the first view of Mount Kailash. Beautiful sight. When we reached there, almost all of us had tears in our eyes. Very emotional moment Without realizing it, you're just tearing, And of course, we all prayed. We prostrated ourselves. It was a very, very divine moment. And initially, when we went, the clouds were covering the top. It's almost like magic. The clouds just separated, and we could see the full view of Mount Kailash and Nandi Parvat there. Okay, there, Nandi there. After that, you have to take a bus and you go around, or you do a parikrama around Mansarovar. Beautiful lake, crystal clear water, cold, very cold. If you dip your feet in it, you realize how cold it is. In the old days, previous batches of pilgrims used to bathe there. They used to take a dip there. Nowadays, that's not allowed. Big brother China is watching, and they have cameras, security cameras everywhere. The guide said that if you go and bathe there, I will lose my license. So we only could dip our feet. That's to show you how clear the water is. This is this slide shows the road that the bus takes to go around the lake. This is sunrise next morning. It's cold. Everybody to dip their feet in the water. You can go and take the water, although you can't bathe in it. You can collect the water. So our guides actually collected water for us so that we could bathe next morning before the prayers. And it was a very, very beautiful moment, very spiritual indeed. As you go around Lake Manasarovar, one of the places that you will see definitely is called Rakshastal. Now this is where the Rakshasas or the Asuras bathe. It is salty water. Although Manasarovar and all is fresh water, right? The water in Rakshastal is salty. And there's a story behind it. I'll tell you the story. It is believed, Lord Shiva, he always likes to grant boons to all his devotees. That is also his weakness, because then the boons invariably get used against him. So the same thing, Ravana actually meditated on Shiva, and then he said, will you grant me the wish that I'll be the strongest man, I'll become indefeatable and all that. So of course, Lord Shiva, in his extreme compassion, he granted him all his wishes. And then naturally that got to his head, and he said, I'm so strong, I'm going to lift up Mount Kailash. So he went to lift Mount Kailash, and depending on which account you hear, Lord Shiva either kicked him or pushed him or shot an arrow, and he fell. This is the spot where he fell, and it was so painful that he shed tears. And that is why this lake is salty. That's one of the stories. They also said, our guide said that it is probably connected to Manasarovar by an underground stream, but that I don't really know, okay? And I'm not going to vouch for that. The other theory is that it's part of the sea that got uplifted when the mountains first formed in millions of years ago. So this must have been a bit of the sea and then got sort of trapped. That's also another story. Mansarovar, you stay in mud huts like these, very basic. Toilet facilities are terrible. Many of us had to just go into the open. So you have to be mentally prepared for that, like I said. But the view at night is incredibly beautiful. You can see millions and millions of stars, which you would never have seen, in Singapore, because our ambient lighting is so high. And of course, you can see Mount Kailash. You can see bits of the southern and eastern faces from there. But as I said, the next morning, I had a very spiritual moment and I could do some meditation there on the banks of Mansarovar. After that, we did a homam. We raised a sacrificial fire, and then we did sacrificial offerings. We chanted Rudram Chamakam. We chanted Siva Puranam, lots of other prayers. The entire group prayed for a safe journey. It was actually one of the high points. And in fact, the ladies all went to prepare prasadam. Oh, there's some echo there. Now we come to the actual parikrama, or they call it the Kora. It's 3 days. It's about 53 kilometers in total. You start at Darchan. First day is Darchan to Derapuk. Second day, Derapuk to Zutulpuk via the Dolmala Pass and a glacier. And the third day is Zutulpuk to Darchan. The Kora starts proper at Yamadwar. Now, Yamadwar, or Yama's opening, okay, it's supposed to, I'll show you in the next slide. It's a very special place. If you go through that, you will be absolved all your sins and you will be like reborn. So this is the place. You can see the small huts in the distance. That's where we start. We all chose to take ponies. So each one is assigned a pony and a porter. The porter will carry your basic stuff for you in a backpack. The pony will take you there. So we start there and we pick our horses. We have to draw lots so that it's fair to everybody. You pick your horse, you pick your guide, and then you go to this place, Yamadwar. Okay, you have to go up and go down, cross to the other side. The belief is that if you walk through and emerge on the other side, your sins are all absolved. And of course, you can see Kailash there in the background. It's like being reborn, like I said. After that, it is traditional. We go and place flags, prayer flags at the starting point, where you write the names of all your family, relatives, friends. Some people even write their pets' names and they hang it there. So you can see millions and millions of prayer flags. And we also do a prayer for Lord Shaniswaran. There's a story again behind it. I'll tell you that story. All the lands around that area, Kailash, the landlord is Lord Shaniswaran. Okay, and Shiva had given him that boon. So one day, Devi Parvati said, "I'm going to build a beautiful palace here in Kailash. After all, this is my home." So she actually built a magnificent palace right there where Kailash is. And we all know that Lord Shiva is a hermit. He only favors simplicity. He doesn't like grandiose things and banda. So what happened was Lord Shaniswaran got angry and he said, "Why did you build a beautiful palace? This is my land and you didn't ask my permission." And Lord Shiva said, "I didn't know. I didn't have anything to do with it. It was Parvati who did it." And Shaniswaran said, "Okay, I will forgive you if you perform the Tandava for me." So Lord Shiva readily agreed, and then he did the Tandava. And he danced so fast and furiously that the whole palace came crumbling down and returned to its original hermit-like state. And later on, it was found out that it was little agreement between Lord Shaniswaran and Lord Shiva that they will do this little drama so that the place will return to its original holy state. So goes the story. After that, once you've got your pony, horseman, and porter, you start. And there are many ways you can do the Kora. The whole journey, many of us were meditating. And on your right, constantly you see Mount Kailash. So people choose to do it on foot. It can be done. There are many people who do that. We did it on pony. And this is how the Tibetans do it. They walk 2 steps and then they prostrate themselves fully on the floor. And it is said that they take about 2 to 3 weeks to complete the full Kora. Amazing, really amazing sights. We saw many of them doing that. And there are people who have done it multiple times in their lives. I met one who said he has done it 53 times in his life. And on the first day, as you go along on your pony, the first view of Kailash you get is the western face. It's the western face. This is the face where you can see a face there. If you make out carefully, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, it is said to be the face of Lord Shiva. And the moment we saw that, we all got down and we prayed. There are supposed to be 4 faces, right? North, east, west, and south for Mount Kailash. It is said that each face represents something. One face represents crystal. Another one represents gold. Another one represents lapis lazuli, and so on. So as we met the western face, we all got down and prayed, and then we continued. The views that you see during simply stunning. We have little river. This river is formed by snow melting from Kailash as you go along. And of course, it's just a rocky path all the way. You can see in the distance, people actually walk. It's a gradual climb, very doable on foot. But our guide advises all to take ponies because the second day will be very tough and you cannot get ponies suddenly on the second day. As you walk along, or as you go along on your pony, you will see the north face just coming into view. And finally, when you reach Tirapuk, just before you reach the monastery, there's a monastery over there that marks the end of the first day. And that's when the north face comes into full view in all its glory. This is the most famous, the most photographed face of Mount Kailash. And that's where we stop for the first day. So you were still not very tired. It was about 3-4 p.m. when we reached there. Very doable. After that, you're just on your own. You just have dinner, you bathe, and all that. This is where the inner Kora starts. Now, if you're adventurous enough, when you're fit, you can actually go and touch Mount Kailash and come back. But it's a long trek, very difficult terrain, very slippery, rocky, small streams. It's not for the beginner, it's for the advanced trekkers. It's about 5 to 6 hours. There have been people, some of our people who came with us, the veterans, they had actually done the trip to go and touch Mount Kailash and come back. And the next day, that is the tough part. So you have to really prepare yourself well. It's about 20 odd kilometers. We take pony from Derapuk to Zutulpuk. This is the highest point, the most difficult climb. You really can feel the thin air. And to make it worse, on that day, we started very early, before sunrise. And it started snowing when we started walking. Very cold. Even the ponies were heaving, really tired. And some of us actually fell off. I know at least 3-4 people who fell off. Fortunately, nothing very bad happened. One of them, unfortunately, had a few fractured ribs, but that was about it. It's very slippery, and even the pony sometimes cannot find its footing because it's uphill all the way. So the pony will drop you off just before the peak, near Dolmala Pass. Then you have to walk. After that, you have to walk down because it is too dangerous for you to ride the pony down. So the horseman will take the horse away and then just hope that you can meet up with him later. But of course, they'll wait for you there. And your porter will carry your things down. Now, unfortunately, many of us actually found it very difficult going here. Some required help. It's really, this I believe is a test of your faith. When you reach there, you see these prayer flags, right? That's when you realize how many people have how many prayers and things. You actually, on a clear day, you can see the eastern face of Mount Kailash there, but it was snowing, it was cloudy, so we couldn't see. This is the real test of your faith. I was glad to say that I was fit enough and I could, reach there without any untoward things happening. In fact, the whole group, all 30 of us made it. And after that, you have to go down. As you go down, you start going down, you see this beautiful emerald lake. It's called Gauri Kund, or the Lake of Compassion. This is where we believe Devi Parvati bathes in private. It's a private bathing facility. Some also say this is where Lord Ganesha was actually protecting, and Lord Shiva came and he wanted to go and meet Parvati, and Lord Ganesha refused, and therefore he decapitated him, and then he was fitted with the elephant's head. So goes this. That's a legend. Yeah, very steep descent, but you can see some people do go and collect the water from there. Most of us, we chose to take water from Manasarovar, and also the little stream that runs along the north face of Kailash. You also have to cross this little glacier, and you can see multiple footprints here. People walking across. It's very thin, like glass, and often cracks as you walk across it. You must wear good hiking boots. Many of us required help, but there was no shortage of helping hands. Here is one of the veterans of the trip is helping one of the ladies. Here, one of the guides, they actually hold your hand all the way. If you're tired or if you're scared, they hold your hand all the way. They even offer to carry you down. In fact, one of us was carried down. And the last 2 kilometers, you walk because it's a very gradual down slope. And then you say bye-bye to the houseman. This is my houseman. It was very nice. He took me along safely. So I said thanks to him. And this is the view that you get when you reach Zutulpuk. Beautiful mountains and streams. And you often see these little huge hares down there on the way. But they're very timid creatures. They just walk away. Actually, from Zutulpuk to Dachin back, about 7 kilometers. Normally, most people would walk it. The full parikrama requires that you walk around. But as I told you, we lost 2 days in Kathmandu. So we had arranged for a jeep to take us there. It's a short ride, 7 kilometers. Anyway, you cannot see Mount Kailash anymore in the last part, Zutulpuk to Dachin. Normally, people would stay overnight at Zutulpuk, and next day they get up and walk back to Dachin. But because we were short of time, we took the jeep and took back to Dachin. It was not possible to see Kailash. The feeling at the end of it is, I can't describe it to you. We were so happy, everybody made it. Relief, joy, also very, very spiritual. And many of us actually teared up. I must also mention our guides. These are Nepali boys, very, very young, double up as cooks as well as guides. Many of them actually help to carry, or literally escort people down from the top, from Dolmala Pass. Very good cooks as well, and very jolly fellows, cheerful, ever helpful, very energetic. So a word of thanks to them. And the Kora usually finishes back at Pashupadinath temple with a Ganga Arati on the banks of the Bagmati River. The Thanksgiving, we have these multi-tiered lamps. There are 3 priests, each one holds one of these lamps. First, we perform a puja, Thanksgiving, and then after that, they do the Ganga Arati, accompanied by live music. Very beautiful sight indeed. So you might ask me what take homes I have. It's actually difficult to describe. You have to experience it yourself. That's what I would say. It is a journey of discovery. You discover yourself, and you also discover your friends. When you talk to people, you realize actually we are all the same. We all have common anxieties, shared experiences. So it's also a discovery of others, discovery of nature. You wouldn't believe such a beautiful place exists. I was really awestruck. And then it brings home the message that you have to live in harmony with this kind of nature. Remember, I told you the story of Parvati Devi building a palace and then Lord Shiva making sure that it's destroyed. Well, I think we should preserve it as it is. It is the only place where you really feel, close to God. And you are 5,600 meters closer to God also. God is present. Yeah, I think I realize that God is present everywhere, in all people, in all things, in nature, in the elements. And I think I had fulfilled my calling. That is all I have to say. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. There was one more take home that I had. It's a personal take home. I did a tattoo when I came back to Kathmandu of Shiva. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Swaminathan. It was really great to know so much about Mount Kailash, and you've definitely sparked that in me as well. I've always wanted to go, but I think like now that you've shared so many things, I feel like I have to make sure that I make that trip very soon. Maybe if we can take questions anyone has, like you can also send through the chat or use the raise hand function.
Yeah, Dr. Swaminathan, hi, Prakash here. Yeah, it was a very nice presentation and it was very well organized. Your slides were beautiful and the message was very clear. Thanks a lot for this very concise and perfect presentation.
Sorry, I had to answer a quick call. Sorry, so who was that again? Sorry.
I'm Prakash.
Oh, hi. Thanks,
yeah,
Prakash.
hi. Yeah, I wanted to just thank you for a very fantastic presentation that you did.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope you liked it.
Of course, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Prakash. Dr. Swaminathan, there's a question here. I'm going to read it out to you. So someone said, Shivam said, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. He said, thank you for your wonderful message. What did Shiva say to you? Is Shiva calling you back? Did you have a message?
Okay. It's very interesting that you should ask me that, because right after I finished, I told myself that I'll be back. And that is generally the feeling of many people who have been to Kailash. Some of the veterans in our group have been there 12 times, 13 times. So you ask them, why? Why do you keep going back? We don't know. They say, Lord Shiva is calling, we go. one of the volunteers there's she actually, every year she says, I won't go. But then when they are planning the trip, at the end of when it comes to about June, she say, okay, I'll join you. So that is the magical thing about Kailash. You always feel like you must go back.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you'll make a trip soon too. And there's another question from Raj. When did you actually make this trip? And yeah, and he said that this was a very informative narration.
Thank you. I'll give you more information if you need. Later, I'll leave my email with you all. We made the trip last year, August 6th to 18th. The planning actually started a year earlier. You have to prepare yourself well. You have to do a lot of climbing and walking. Otherwise, you'll find the going very tough. Especially at the altitude. The biggest fear is actually altitude sickness. You will have, not only will you feel breathless, you actually get fluid in the lungs, pulmonary edema, and you black out. It is actually not a safe trip. Because the whole lot of them was very happy that I was there. I was the one who was most scared because I have to look after another 29 people. Fortunately, by God's grace, Shiva's grace, everything went very well. All of us made the entire trip without problems, except from, a few of us actually were thrown off or fell off the pony, but that was actually purely unintended.
Okay. There's more questions, so I'm gonna keep going. So Renuka asks, apparently there is a new way to go to Manasarovar from Delhi.
Yes.
Do you know anything about that? I mean, that journey, is that faster? Is it easy?
It is supposed to be faster, but because of some political problems, the last stretch of that road hasn't been completed. This one is direct from India to Manasarovar. So it cuts short your travel time by 2 or 3 days. But remember, you have to acclimatize. I wouldn't advise people to rise or, the altitude. Don't increase the altitude so fast because your body needs time to acclimatize. I think most doctors will tell you, you cannot just go from 0 to 5,000 meters in 2 days. It's very dangerous and it also affects many organs in the body. So I don't advise it. Yeah, it is being built. Unfortunately, the last stretch got held up. It's not completed yet.
Okay. And for this trip, what was your total duration, Dr. Swaminathan?
We took almost 18 days, 6 of August to 18 days. Yeah, no, slightly less than 18 days, 14 days.
Okay, and when is the best time to visit?
The best time they say is from May up till about September. After that, it starts to get very cold, frozen over. You can't even visit. It's completely frozen over.
Okay. This is my favorite question, and I'm glad someone asked this. Did you experience any miracles at Kailash, and can you share with us?
Miracles?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to disappoint you. I didn't experience any miracles, but I think it's the wonder of nature. I like Manasarovar. Personally, I love Manasarovar. The view at night is simply stunning. And the fact that I could meditate and pray at the banks of the holiest lake, that was something special to me. So everyone will have his own special thing there. I don't think I had any miracles. But the miracle was that we all came back without anything happening. Because many trips people have gone, some of them have had to be turned back. Even after the first day of parikrama, they turned back, And some of them just went all the way to Darshan and never made it because they felt they had mountain sickness. So the very fact that all 30 of us complete, mind you, half of them were over 60 years old. There were some 70 plus people in our group. Dr. Varaprasad was there. And all of us made it. I think that was the best miracle.
That's amazing. There are a lot of great comments. And Mino says, This was a very enlightening presentation with scenic pictures. She says, thank you. Saro asks, what was the age range of the group? I think you sort of mentioned just now, but mainly she's asking if the group actually met up before the trip. Did you do any like joint prayers? Did you train together? And I think you mentioned a few things about your own physical training, but did you do it as a group?
Yes. The Saturday, every Saturday, from about January of last year, we started going as a group to Bukit Timah. So those of us who could make it on a particular Saturday, it's always held on a Saturday, and the guides will take you from, they start at Bukit Batok station, go through Bukit Batok Nature Park, walk to Bukit Timah Hill, go up the trails 2 times to train for the altitude. But you know, Bukit Timah is like 163 meters and Kailash is 5,000 meters on average. So if you really want more experience, I think you should go and climb a mountain. And that was actually why I went to climb Mount Kinabalu, just to get used to the thin air. It's 14,000 feet, Mount Kinabalu. So just to get used to that feeling, I think it's good to go and climb one mountain.
Before you climb the mountain.
Okay, we also had prayers. It is traditional. Every group that goes, they hold prayers in the Kalang Muniswaran temple. What temple is it? Dharma Muniswara temple. Kalang Gasworks, you know, that temple. They hold prayers. They have a homam for the safe journey, for the safe return of all the participants. So that is traditional. And after coming back, they also have Thanksgiving prayers at the Queenstown Muniswaran temple. So yes, there are some group activities. And group training is every Saturday.
Great.
Apart from that, you can do your own training, of course.
And I think you recommended a few things that you also did on your own, right? Like going to the gym and you also mental preparation, physical preparation, and a spiritual.
I think all 3. Most important is stair climbing. You must get used to climbing. So even we have a lot of HDB blocks everywhere. You go and pick the tallest block, climb 25 stories, climb 5 times. I think you can have good practice for that. Core strengthening is very important. I think for our Indians, the core muscles are not very good. So I would advise do some core exercises. I actually had a trainer, so he was very good. He taught me everything. And he also did arm strengthening exercises. That comes in very useful when you have to hold on to ropes and climb. Not in Kailash, but in Kinabalu, certainly, yes.
There are some questions around medical facilities when someone is, there doing the parikrama. What if there's an emergency? Like, is there provision for evacuation? I think you might have touched on it a bit.
Okay. Most groups, they don't have doctors there. This was just because I happened to be there. There are facilities for evacuation, but it's very remote. So by the time if a person really is very ill, by the time you call for help and they come and evacuate, it can sometimes be dangerous. The whole Kora actually, it's like a laterite, kind of track. So yes, jeeps can travel and it is possible to cover some of the distances by vehicle, but some parts of it are not accessible to vehicles at all. Thankfully, not much accidents have happened because people always proceed very carefully, very slowly. Yeah, actually, we were very worried about that.
I think there's some questions around like food and managing that in a trip like this for 18 days. Could you share a bit about like how your experience was? And I believe that it depends on like the agent and which all that.
Most groups will have their own cooks. Like I said, we had these Nepali boys, so they will cook for you various things. One of them has actually been to Singapore and worked here in the food and beverage. So they also know how to make some of the dishes. They actually do provide variety. The important thing I think is at the end of a long, tiring day, in a cold night, you have a hot meal. So I think most groups bring their own cooks with them and there is enough food. In addition, of course, I recommend that you bring energy bars, you bring chocolates. That you don't have to tell Singaporeans, like, they will always bring extra food. So no worries, please bring your own food.
Okay. What about high altitude tablets? Is that advisable? Someone is asking here.
Definitely advisable. In fact, most of us actually took the pill. You have to start taking it about 2-3 days before you will start climbing. So you start it while you are in Lhasa itself. So that you get used. That's why there's a gradual climb. Lhasa is about 3,500 or 4 meters above sea level. Then as you go, you climb gradually 4,000, 4,005. To get used to that, it's better that you take your altitude pills right from Lhasa itself. It's basically a diuretic. Now, the important thing, a few other things which I didn't mention is, they always tell you, do not wash your hair. Do not wash your hair, especially if you're ladies, during the entire period of the parikrama, because it is cold, and if you wash your hair, it's likely you will come down with something. So, in fact, be very honest, you might not even have a chance to bathe. Just wipe yourself or towel yourself down. If you want to know the symptoms of mountain sickness, the usual thing is headache, sleeplessness, difficulty breathing, okay, and panting. Even you walk, sing a few steps, 2 or 3 steps, you start feeling breathless. Then you have to seek attention. What's the name of the pill? I'm sorry, I just can't recall the name of the pill right now. It's I'll get it for you. Acetazolamide. Acetazolamide.
Yeah, it is a Dimox, I guess.
Dimox, yeah, it's a diuretic. Basically, how it works is it makes you pee more. So that can be quite difficult if you're a lady. You have to go and find a spot to pee. Yeah? And I told you the toilets there are not that fantastic. You've got to get used to that.
Okay. So there's a question from Sadashiv. He's asking, he said, Dr. Swami, very nice talk. Thank you. They say that Kailash Nathji shines like gold in the morning sunlight. Did you manage to see that? And they also say Rakshatal is dark and waters are not transparent. Did you see that? Did you have a chance to see that?
Yes, Rakshasthal, I showed you a photo. The water is dark green. Yeah, it's correct. Okay, because it represents the dark side. All right, maybe. The other question was, did I see it's called, in Tamil, we call it Ponnar Meniyane. So there is a famous song, Ponnar Meniyane, Pulitolai Urikasaitu, and so on. No, as I said, on the day that we were supposed to see, it was snowing and cloudy. And that is one thing you must be prepared for. There have been people who had snow and cloud all 3 days and saw very little of Kailash. Okay? It all depends on your luck. So we were very, very fortunate. Most of the time, we saw what we went to see. So I'm afraid we didn't get to see the golden face. That only happens on a clear day, not much clouds, and then the sun shines on the peak. If you Google it, you will find photos. There are many photos of that. So I didn't put one up there because I didn't see it.
I think Susain and Soundarya have questions. Maybe Susain, you can start off.
Namaste, Mr. Swaminathan. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. We are one of the few people who we wanted this topic to be covered, and you have done it very well, very concise. You had a lot of pictures and my question is, you're a doctor by profession, but please answer honestly, which aspect you think was more important, your spiritual preparation or your physical preparation?
You cannot separate them. I believe it's all three combined. You cannot just separate the physical. You cannot say, okay, I'll prepare myself spiritually, but you don't prepare yourself physically, then you will not make it. You have to train. That's what I mean. Of course, the spiritual part is important. This, as I said, is the ultimate pilgrimage. So you have to be very, very blessed. You have to be blessed to be able to go. So the moment you think of it, it's a calling. So I think spiritual preparation is good. You must do a lot of spiritual preparation. You must study the scriptures. but you have to be physically prepared because it is a very challenging environment. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi,
hi, Dr. Swaminathan. I'm sorry about technical glitch. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. My question is, okay, you mentioned that you have actually gone to the Panchabuddha Stalas as well. So I assume that you would have actually done the Girivalam of Tiruvannamalai as well. So apart from the altitude and the weather, how is Kailash different as how you feel as compared to Tiruvannamalai?
Very
Because
different.
both are
Very different. Because Tiruvannamalai, you are going around the foothill of a mountain. The altitude of that foothill itself is not very much. But Kailash, average height is above 4,500 meters above sea level. In fact, when you reach Dirapuk, it's already about close to 5,000 meters above sea level. So you will actually experience it. All of us experience it. You feel a bit lightheaded and you cannot exert yourself. Like if you climb stairs, you'll be panting like an old man. So it's very different. I would say the Girivalam around Tiruvannamalai is much easier. Although I have to confess that we did it by car because we didn't have much time that day. If you want to do the full Girivalam Tiruvannamalai, very beautiful, but it will take too much time and we didn't have time because we were covering like 6 temples in a day. Can you imagine? It was very, very nice experience, Tiruvannamalai. Again, that's one place I'd love to go to. That too has an inner kora, where if you go into the inner kora, you will see all the Siddhargal meditating and you shouldn't disturb them. They've just got long matted hair and they've been there for God knows how long.
Thank you, Dr. Swami.
Dr. Swaminathan, there's a lot of questions on like when there's going to be a next trip on your side. Just curious to know like if there's an upcoming trip. I think a lot of people would be interested to also join.
I kind of expected that. Well, I can give the contact, but unfortunately this year they did plan a trip. Many people, in fact, the response was overwhelming. So they had to cut the number of participants to 30 plus. But because of COVID and all, it's all been held up. So nothing planned for this year. You can't travel anyway. And I wouldn't advise you to travel to Tibet when COVID is in progress right now. So I'm afraid this year there won't be a pilgrimage. The person who does it is Mr. Shanmugam. He's been going for many years, ex-army officer, very nice man. They organize it well, and because they are all Singaporeans, they organize it the way we like it, You know, Singaporeans, we use a bit of comfort. That is the biggest drawback. But they know what Singaporeans want. So I think that's why I was happy I went with the Singaporean group. There are many groups that go. Like we met Sadhguru's group. They were there at the same time at Mansarovar. But they don't do the full Kora, They go up to North Face and then they go back. That's their version of Kailash Parikrama. Sorry, did I answer the question? Sorry.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. I think Prakash here also has a question. Mobile connectivity during the parikrama. I'm not sure if you need mobile connectivity.
No, don't worry about that.
Sure.
You just get the roam. You get easy roam, pay $20. You can roam to China, right? It's in China. So they have very good telecom facilities. Most places we could receive signals. Of course, Kailash itself, you forget it, right? But most of the journey we had good signal. And every time you are in a hut or a hotel, a so-called hotel, you still have Wi-Fi in many places. So connectivity, I would say, is not a big problem. I was even keeping up with my classes. I was attending some other classes also, Bhagavad Gita, and I was keeping up with it, despite all the obstacles. So it's not a big problem. Communication is not a problem. You can make video calls to your family back home.
That's great. I don't think there's any more questions in the chat, but like we're open for any question. Okay, there's one.
Yeah. Can I say
Yeah,
hello?
go.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, Dr. Swami. I'm Alka Prakash here, wife of Prem Prakash, if you remember.
Yes, hi.
Yes. Yes. It was very, very nice, very informative. And to tell you frankly, I was feeling sad that why we were not there with your group. So that's the feeling I'm having now. I'm feeling jealous of you, actually speaking in inverted commas, I'm saying. Yeah. So you have inspired us. And yes, that's why that was my question, that next, when is the plan so that we can join the group? As you said very rightly, Singapore group will be good. So maybe next year?
Hopefully next year, when all the COVID has settled, then you can find out. These people go every year. They're very dedicated. And also it costs about 7,000 Sing dollars if you are. I know many of you will ask me about the cost. I think we spend about 7,000 Sing dollars. So you can start saving up. You have still 1 year to go.
Yeah, that was actually one question that just came in the chat now. What is the estimated budget? But there's one very interesting question here. Is there a difference that you see in yourself before and after the yatra?
I think yes, definitely. And the first time it struck me actually was when I went to visit my relatives in India, and they all came and said, no one in the family has ever gone, people who have been to Kailash, if you pray to them, it's as good as, you have gone around Kailash and all that. So I think it made a big difference to my life. Without knowing it, I realized that I actually have done a very important pilgrimage. It has made me realize a lot of things. I think the important things are not, it's like almost cliched, huh? Say not money and all that. I think it's more important to find yourself and find the spiritual side of you. I think it certainly did. Most certainly helped me to find spiritual side of me.
That's really amazing to hear. And there's one more question on, was there a difference between your Kailash Parikrama and your previous Machu Picchu hike? Like, I'm pretty sure there was, but what was the difference like?
Machu Picchu is actually lower than Kailash. It's about 4,000 meters above sea level. So it's a big difference. Machu Picchu, you do feel the thin air, but not as much as you do in Kailash because it's higher. It helps. I think any mountain climbing helps to get used to that feeling of rarefied air. But of course, Machu Picchu is much more beautiful. In fact, I would recommend Bolivia. It's a really undiscovered gem, beautiful place. If you get a chance, please do visit the salt flats of Uyuni and the mountains. It's simply incredible, like a painting, The Mount Dali actually is named after Salvador Dali, the painter. I showed you a picture of that mountain. It's really beautiful. So if you get a chance, please do go there.
We should get, all your recommendations. It sounds like you've traveled to a lot of places. There's a question about like people that might have like heart conditions or diabetes, and there might be concerns for them about going to this trip that's quite arduous. Like, what is your suggestion and what is your advice for them?
You have to bring your medicines along and take them. You might have to make slight dose adjustments. Like if you're not eating as much, when you go to altitude, your appetite may not be so good. So if you're eating less, you may also have to reduce your medication. But you have to take your medications with you. Okay? Whether it's hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, you must take the medicines with you and you must keep taking them in addition to other medications. Sometimes you have to watch out for interactions. Like if you take Diamox, it does affect with other diuretics that you'll be taking for your high blood pressure. So you'll have to check with your doctor first and probably have to make minor adjustments, but it's still doable. Okay? In fact, many of in our group were taking pills, but they all did okay.
Okay. Any other questions that we have? I think most people are keen on getting like information or updates on the plan for 2021. Is there a way for them to kind of like get this information from, whoever is actually planning this trip for next year?
The person who does it is a man called Mr. Shanmugam. I think they are a little bit overwhelmed. Even this year, they had far more inquiries than they could accommodate. In fact, I think they said it's double, 60. They do in small groups. Their group size is maximum 30. So you'll have to be early, have the contact. So if you're really, really keen and you're ready, then you can get the contact from me.
Great. Dr. Swaminathan, are you okay with people receiving your, getting your email? So I think there's a few people who want to reach out to you.
Okay. SAMI.
Oh, you don't have to give it here. We've asked them to email it to admin@Hindu Center, but yeah, I'm just confirming.
No worries. You can
Okay.
email me. I'll try to help where I can.
Sure. Thank you. I think if there are any more questions, you can send through. If not, we can close off. Don't think there is. Okay, perfect. A question from YouTube. Yeah, is there an age limit for this trip? Or do they have to be a certain age before they go or something like that?
No age. As far as I know, no age limit. It's more of a physical limit. As I said, half the people in my group were over 60 years old. So if they can do it, I think most of us should be able to do it. If you have any medical conditions, I definitely advise you to see a doctor and get it checked, certified that you're fit to travel. That's very, very important. You don't want to have unfortunate things happening on a parikrama. So make sure you're fit before you go. That's about all I think that's about all I have to say.
Okay, great. I think, thank you, Mr. Swaminathan. This was really, really useful, even for me. And I think everyone in the chat as well is super grateful. You should read the comments there, and everyone is saying it was very insightful. Thank you so much for actually sharing this with us today. And I think there might be more questions to you, some people may send it your way. We're going to close off by first, let me go ahead and share my screen. Before I do the closing prayers, I wanted to share with you, for everyone in this Easy Hinduism talk, we do have a WhatsApp where you can get updates on all the events that are happening here in Hindu Center. Please, use this number 876-80532. You can actually add the number and just have to type in WhatsApp, just have to type in join. So this is not a one-to-one WhatsApp messaging service. All you need to do is join, and you'll be able to get updates from our side whenever new events happen. So, you'll know what else is coming up next month and what other events that we are conducting. So this is going to be really useful for those people that are interested in all the events that we are conducting here in Hindu Center. If there are no other questions, let me go ahead and close it off with closing prayers. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you everyone for joining today, and we hope to see you in our future Easy Hinduism sessions. And thank you again, Dr. Swaminathan. Bye.
நன்றி வணக்கம்.
Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. It was useful to you. Thank you, everyone.
I'm sure.
Hope you enjoyed the presentation. It was useful to you.
I'm sure they
Definitely.
did.
Bye. Thanks, Shreya.
Dr. Swaminathan, you should read the comments in the chat as well.
Yeah, just scroll through very quickly. Scroll through this now after the talk. I'll read later. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
After the talk, I'll read later. Okay. Thank you. Bye. Srinivasan தானே அது? பார்த்து.